Hi guys, welcome to a new episode of Tips and Tricks with Michael, and this time this video will be about a question that one of my lovely followers had: how she can get a smooth canvas. And if you like working on smooth canvases or not, this is totally up to you. It's just a personal preference. I sometimes like to have a really smooth canvas, so really no texture at all. Sometimes I love the rougher ones. Just test it out if you see what you like perhaps more or what you don't like at all. So how you can get a smooth canvas if you decide for one, I will show you right now. Actually, the only thing that you will need is this here, and if I was good at video editing, I would make some glowing effect right here and angel voices singing around. This is gesso. I have the one from Schminke, as you might have seen in other videos before. This is just a random gesso I can get here in my local art stores. I have no emotional attachment to this one, so it can be any gesso that you come across. You will also need these thingies, and these come from a local craft store. Well, I think actually this came from a local grocery store, which had these in their special deal something area. So this is just sanded paper. And this beautiful set came with many versions of different kinds of sanded paper, so different textures, roughnesses. So a really soft one, a really rough one. And what you will really need to make this happen, this lovely block here. This came just in the set, and you can just cut the paper in the size that you need and clip it into here. So as you can see, this is just the block. You clip it in, and then you have an even surface to work with. Later more. What you will also need is, of course, something to put the gesso on with. A brush. And I personally take one of the larger brushes, as this makes my life much easier in terms of how quick the stuff goes. And you need something to work on, which is actually, this time here, it's a canvas board, which can be used as a surface to paint on. You can use canvases like this one. As she was requesting to have a smooth canvas, I give you some more tips on this one. This is just a cheap one, so you can see it's not really stiff. No, you can't. Can you now? So if I move my hand underneath, the linen is not really stiff on here. So something to keep in mind for later. And what you can also use is this one, which is an MDF board, for example. These are quite lovely to work on, as they are smooth from their natural life thingy. So if they are smooth, they are thick, hard, you can get them in all the sizes that you want, or you can go to your craft store and make them to be the size that you want. And they come in different thicknesses. This is a 5mm one, or a 7 something, and I do have some 3mm. You can go up to a centimeter, I think. These come in version 1, 2 sides brown, version 2, 1 side brown, 1 side white. You might think, oh cool, it's already white. Never ever do something on the right side. This is, I don't know what they put on there, but it is nothing really grips there. I've tried this because I thought, oh wait, cool, it's already primed. No. I do these acrylic pours, as you can see on my channel as well, and I thought this would be a great base color to work on, and it's water sealed, nothing can soak into the MDF board. So I went with this, and what happened? Once everything was dry, I could peel the entire layer off. Nothing will stick here. If you go for oil paints, the oil paints will dry, but whenever you scratch even the tiniest bit with your fingernail, the color gets off. So never use the right side. So, and for demonstration, I will put my camera down again on my desk and show you how this stuff works. Oh, what I forgot telling you, you can also use papers to gesso. So you can use any paper that you want to use, put some layers of gesso over it and go painting. Why would you think you should gesso over paper. Two different opinions on this one. First one, because you're an artist and you can put color everywhere. Number two, gesso gives you a nice base layer to paint on. So if you have quite thin paper or want to go a bit red with your color, so acrylics for example or watercolor, you should gesso your paper so that the water does not soak into the paper that much. Why else? Same reason why you should gesso over canvases perhaps. If you want to have another background color and you want to have your canvas smoother than it is already, then you can just tint your gesso, ta-da, with some color. Ta-da! This can be any acrylic color that you want to use. Basically, you also could use watercolor to tint your gesso, but I would not recommend it. Because acrylic, once dried, will not lift off when you wet over it again. When the watercolor is dried into the gesso, it will look in a way the same. But once you put water over the watercolor gesso mix, although it's dried, you will lift the pigments of the watercolor out of it. So you will not have a clean painting over it. So go for acrylics. And this can be any color that you would like to use. If you don't want to make your own color gesso, you can also use one which is already available. These come in different colors and thicknesses. This one from Schmincke was quite thick. It was like the consistency that... oh, what's the English word? Is it custard? I think it's custard. The consistency of custard, perhaps a bit less thick, but it was too thick to really paint with. So I just put some water into it, mixed it quite well, and yeah, that's it. Now it's a consistency that I can work with better. Gesso, acrylic color, which is still sealed. Never used it, so premiere in opening it, and most of the times I spray myself with paint. Not this time. Well done, Michael. Of course. Had to happen. What else? So color, let's just use the one from the cap here, and then you just put it into your gesso and mix it. So this is muted gray. At the moment it looks more like violet. If you don't want to change the color of your gesso, you can leave it just blank white, so there's no need to change the color. But as I have told you in other videos before, I like working on toned surfaces, because this already works like an imprimatura. Having a darker tone than the white of the canvas gives you a better impression of the color. I made a color mixture video for skin color where I explain it a bit more. When you have the very same color that you put onto a white canvas and a colored stained canvas, on the white canvas the color will always look darker than it is on the stained canvas. So it is easier for you to judge the actual value that you're going to use for your painting when you have a stained canvas. If this is gray, if this is blue or red or a brown, totally up to you. Once you have your gesso colored or not colored, just put it onto your canvas. Gesso itself is quite opaque, so you don't need very much to have your canvas stained, and you can work in layers. So the more layers of gesso you actually add to your paper or your canvas, the smoother it will be in the end result. So if you do not like this end paper, for what reason whatsoever, you can also go another way and thin your gesso down a bit more than this is here and make many thin layers. So make a thin layer, let it dry, make another thin layer, let it dry, and so on until you have the smoothness of the board or the canvas that you would like to have. So the more often you use this method of the thin gesso, the smoother your canvas will be. You might not be able to get rid of all the brush strokes whatsoever happens during these processes, so you might not end up with a canvas as smooth as a paper when you not sand it. So I let this dry for a second here, and this is what it looks right now. I'm not sure if you can see this in camera. Actually, when we are speaking of canvas boards, I just bought some of these. Aren't these the cutest things you've ever seen? These are 5 by 5 centimeter canvas boards, which I will actually use for some acrylic pours as a giveaway. I add resin over it and make a magnet behind it so that you can put it on the fridge. Just let me know if you find them as cute as I do. Perhaps it's just me, but I can watch them all day. It's just cute. So back to work. My canvas board. As I just realized that I was painting all my desk, I will just clean this for a second. And this is actually something really, really amazing. It makes no sense for me to show you the brand because it's a German one, which you can get at Rewe. So if you are German and you have a Rewe around, these are actually some of these kitchen or bathroom cleaning towels, red ones that you can get there. So it's a pack, 100 or so of these tissues in. They are wet. They are meant for cleaning stuff in the kitchen or the bathroom. These are just amazing. They grab color really, really well, even if you clean your color palette from your oil paintings. It's great. Even if the color is dried, this one can get rid of it. So, nice to have. Do not mess up with my table all the time. I just put it a bit higher this time and use my lovely gesso and paint over it. And this one I will make a bit rougher, as you will see, to show you how it looks in the end when sanded. So what I recommend, whenever you plan to draw or paint on MDF boards, and you can actually paint on here and draw on here, you can use watercolors on here, and you can use colored pencils on here. So this is everything at all, no problem. But if you use watercolor, if you use colored pencil, just make sure you put a coat of gesso over it, as this makes your life easier. Color pencil might not hold at all if you do not have a coat over it, because the surface is really, really smooth and slick, and I think the color pencil will just glide around and not really stick to it. If you go for watercolor, of course the base layer color is not really pretty and will not look good with watercolor, and if there is no primer on top, the MDF board tends to soak the water up and then it changes its texture, which is not nice. It becomes rough and stuff happens to it, I'm not sure. So if you go for anything red, make a coat of gesso over it, or 2 or 3, whatever you need. Also, perhaps if you're a color pencil artist, you can use gesso over any paper to create a somewhat sanded paper effect. So if you, for example, work with the Prussian pencil powder blender and you don't have any sanded paper, which works the best for it, you can use any paper that you have available, put some coats of gesso over it, and the Prussian pencil powder blender will work just as it does on sanded paper. I could show you how I paint a canvas, but as the method is the very same, I will not show you. I will let this dry, we'll be back in a second, and the good thing for you is that you will not have to wait as I do have to wait, because filmmaking is magic. So see you in a second. Hi guys, so everything is dried. Actually it is the next day. I completed everything yesterday and wanted to edit a video right now, and I realized that the video number 2, which I'm going to reproduce now, was corrupted, so I was not able to open it and to use it. I've googled for I think an hour to find any suitable program that can repair my video file, as it was there but I couldn't start it. But there was nothing I could find helping me. So if you had this issue before on your own and you found a solution that could repair your video so that you can use it, please let me know. As I did not waste any more time searching for stuff which will not work, I decided to reproduce it, and I hope that I will get everything together again what I was about to tell you yesterday in the second part of the video, and I hope I do not miss any life-changing information that I gave you yesterday. So just let's see how it goes. This is the MDF board which I gessoed yesterday, and this is the small canvas board which was also gessoed. Once everything is dried and you really want to let it dry completely, this of course depends on the thickness of your gesso layer that you put onto it and the surface that you are actually put the gesso on. And then you'll need these ones. This is a medium rough one, and this is a really soft one. What I usually do is I start with the rougher one. Don't take a too rough one. Also, when you're going to sand it and you have a too rough one, you will end up making new texture in the gesso. So this is something we do not really want to do. And then, as I sanded this yesterday, as you might imagine, I will not sand it again right now, but you just take your block, go over it, and you will get a lot of dust. So when you have the chance, go somewhere outside, on your terrace, on your balcony, in your garage, just outside, not to mess around your complete flat with gesso dust. And this again depends on how you apply the gesso. So if you applied it quite roughly and you have much texture, it may take a bit longer. If you made gentle strokes and there's no brush strokes visible whatsoever, it will go a bit quicker. So this just depends, you will see. Once you have the feeling that everything feels soft and smooth, you change the sanded paper to a really soft one and you will get a paper-like finish, if this is something you are going for. This is the canvas board, which I gessoed I think 4 or 5 times. This is how it looks now. I'm pretty sure the camera cannot catch the canvas texture. It is still a bit visible, but it's way less than it was before without I applied the gesso. If you really want to do a very smooth paper-like surface, I think it is the easiest way to just put gesso over it and sand this as well. It is way quicker than applying 4, 5, 6 layers of gesso over it. It just takes much time. Even if the gesso is applied and you've sanded it, you will see a bit of the canvas texture through. This is just normal. So that even if it's completely flat, you will just see the texture. So light and dark dots actually, but that should not distract you, because when you feel it's even and smooth, everything will be fine. I've just brought 2 pencils with me just to show you the difference. This just my Sketch and Peel charcoal pencil and a colored pencil, and this time it's the Derwent Colorsoft Indigo, which does not matter at all. The rougher, so the not sanded version, and you can see the application is quite quick. There is some texture visible, and if I go over to the sanded version, and this is here, it is much smoother and less pencil grabs onto the canvas. Same with the colored pencil, you can see a texture. Here you can see way less texture. And I could have sanded it even more, so I just went over a couple of times. If you're going crazy and sand it really completely smooth, you will have problems that pencils will grab onto the canvas. They just more or less glide around and you will only hardly get any strokes on the canvas. It will work with the paint, of course, but the paint reacts differently on a really smooth surface than it does on a canvas texture surface. So if you're going to paint with large amount of paints, so like impressionistic, abstract, whatever your technique is, and you go with big blobs of paint and want to see strokes, you will have a harder time on a really smooth canvas. If you go for really light layers and want to layer up, so as if you work on paper perhaps, this will work quite well with the really smoothened out canvas. If you go for the MDF board like here I have quite the same. Here this is the not sanded version. On the sanded version it is like here, way harder to apply the pencil, as you can see. Same with the Colorsoft. Colorsoft works better than expected here. Now let's turn to the canvas again, and this is actually why I recommend using a block. If you do not have such thing but you have sanded paper, just use anything that is flat actually and that you can grab. So important thing is that this one is flat on the bottom and the sanded paper lies flat on there, so that you can apply an even pressure to the entire piece. So because this, you make one pressure and you can go over it. In case you do not use such a thing and you use your hands, as you might know, canvases, I think I showed you on part 1 already. Let me see. If you go with your finger underneath, you can see that the linen itself is not so stiff that you cannot bend it or see your fingers through, as here. If you go with your fingers and you sanded paper, you're going to make uneven pressure, and as you cannot apply even pressure because the pressure will be the highest at your fingers or the bottom side of your fingers and will be less in between your fingers. So when you go over it, you cannot apply the same pressure to each section of the canvas or surface, so you will not have an even result in the end. In case I did not mention in the part 1 already, you can use gesso over any water-based color. So if you made a painting in acrylics, you do not really need to waste your canvas, so you can just reuse it, put your gesso over it, let it dry and go for another painting on it. If you made a painting with oils and you don't like it, you cannot use gesso to put over it and repaint it. Yeah, I think that's it for this tutorial. Sorry that the first version of this video was corrupted and I could not use it. I hope I put all the information in that I wanted to tell you yesterday as well. If you have any questions, if you think I missed something, just let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel to not miss any new videos. You can click the bell icon button and I would be happy to see you in my next videos. Have a great day. Bye bye.